Good morning and welcome back. We are day 3 and we thank y'all for coming back. So today we are going to be talking about growing from a CRCG to an SOC. Just a quick reminder, if you haven't signed in, there's sign-in sheets at the edge of each table. And then at the end, we would love for you to fill out our feedback. There's QR codes at every entrance and even outside. So make sure you fill those out so that we can get your feedback so we can help the conference grow each year. So today I'm going to be introducing Alice Alvarez. Alice cultivated and inspired young minds in early childhood as a teacher, director, trainer, mentor, and child care licensing inspector. Today, as part of the Kronkosky Charitable Foundation, Alice works closely with community and state leaders to understand and strengthen community awareness of children and youth behavioral health system of Bexar County. She connects with grassroots leaders and engages with the community to help create and organize programs to sustain community support for families. Her breadth of work includes supporting Bexar County CRCG, and she is currently working with the community to expand into the Bexar Children and Youth System of Care. Bexar Systems of Care is a community effort working to create an overview of all children and youth behavioral health work in Bexar County. The system of care is driven by the system of care philosophy and focus work where people are already making an effort and are held accountable by the dedicated Bexar system of care participants and our committee. So let's welcome Alice as she presents for us today.
You'll notice that in the introduction, it talked about that I work for the Kronkosky Charitable Foundation. Well, you look at my email and it says live.com. So there's something not matching up right there. So I'm going to give you that story in just a minute. It's very exciting. It has tears and then it has happiness again, and life is going to be great. So let's go ahead and get started. So as we talk about a system of care and a CRCG, there's a lot of words that are very similar in here. Let me get to my notes. You'll notice they both talk about community. And I was going to have y'all do a word search, but it's the last day. So we're not going to do that. I'm going to give you the answers. Huh? Yes, not a problem. I'm there for you. Anytime I do something, y'all can go. And I just will move right on. So we've got community in both of these. We've got the word services, supports, youth, family. It doesn't always say family in both, but it talks about youth, children, parents, caregivers, all of that kind of stuff. It talks about coordination in both. It talks about partnership in both. And it talks about needs in both. So they are very, very similar. You can easily, to me, it was just very easy and very natural to move from one to the other, or just let the CRCG grow and it will just evolve with the different improvements and things. So let me move forward here. So if you'll take out a piece of paper wherever you're taking your notes on is absolutely fine. And if I remember to click here, we're going to slow down for a minute, and this is called a spiral journal. So just draw yourself a little box, and this is just for you. We're going to use it to discuss later, but you don't need to share it, so you can write anything you want on it. And just to kind of bring you here, because right now I'm sure you're thinking about when I get home, when I get in my car, when I get to work, I need to contact. Do I have so-and-so's card? Yes, I got their card. All of those kinds of things. So I just want you to put your pencil or your pen right in the center of those crosshairs, and I want you to start just kind of being in the moment and drawing a spiral. And draw it so tight that it looks like a dot, because you're just going so close. And just kind of concentrate on that for a minute. Just do your spiral and try to be in the moment. Don't worry about moving ahead. Work on the spiral right now. We're going to move ahead together. So think about being here and right now, in that dot. Okay. So let's come together, and you'll see on the top left it says, I am. And you can write whatever you want. I am tired. I am grateful. I am hungry. Hopefully there'll be tacos left. Get another one of those. I am here. Anything. And then next to that, to the right, I need to return that phone call, take a nap, do this again next year. I hope you're thinking. Pick up milk on the way home if you live here. On the bottom left, I am looking forward to my own bed. The trip home. I like driving. Well, I don't like driving. I like the trip. I like when somebody else drives. And then the last one, in my work, I am focused on. So maybe that's where you write those things down. Focused on reaching out to somebody you connected with, collaborating with. Hopefully you met somebody here. Getting through this session and the next session. So, if in your box it says, I need to, and there's something there that's really keeping you from being present right now, feel free to go take care of that. If you really need to call home, you've got a text from your child, please, because you won't be here. So I want you to be here. So if there's something you need to do, please, please, please take care of yourself. It won't hurt my feelings. You're like, there's barely anybody in here. Yes, ma'am. Oh, sure. Having a little trouble? Okay, I'll use my big girl voice. Is that better? Okay, I can use the big girl voice. So I've asked people, especially those here and those online, that in the corner up top right, it says, I need to. So if there's something you really need to do that will help you be more present, get up and go return a phone call, get some water, take care of yourself, and make sure that you are here and present for this presentation and for the next one as well. And on your drive home, please, if you're driving home. Okay, let's move forward and just kind of hang on to that. We're going to use that. So today we're going to talk about the history of Bexar County and system of care, our current state, our progress, and our future, what we're looking forward to in the future. And you'll see some different pictures and resources, and when you look at the slides, you can look at those. Those are tools and things that I used when I was doing this work, or as we go forward doing this work as well. So let's move forward there. Let me check my notes. Oh, this one's fun because our history, you'll notice I highlighted something there. That was fun. In 2018, I had barely started with Kronkosky in 2017, and that's a large foundation there in Bexar County in San Antonio. I had just started with them, and I had been going to these meetings about system of care. I couldn't understand from the meetings what was happening. Seemed like a program they were trying to develop. I knew zero about CRCG and system of care. But, you know, you sit in some of those meetings and you walk out and go, what in the world just happened? And I'll never get that hour back, right? So it was kind of like that. Well, SAMHSA thought the same thing and pulled the grant. So it can happen. And it's scary. But it happens like, oh, hi, you no longer have a grant. So they're real sweet about it. But so when we decided to bring it back, and first we had our CRCG, and we were doing really well with that. We went from 25 participants. We now have at least 70 participants. We're hybrid. So when we decided, yeah, let's go forward with system of care, we did it during our retreat. And the group, and there's a lot more than this. These are the ones that came to the retreat. We ended up being the 2022 Outstanding Texas CRCG. Woohoo, CRCG! With the support of the National Training and Technical Assistance Center with NTAC that's out there. If you haven't talked to them, go talk to Tracy, get her contact. If you want to be a system of care, you must get their services, and it's all free, which is nice. And you're also going to want to stay in touch with System of Care and CRCG here in Texas. You all know them. They're at the registration desk. And just when they say we're having a training, yes, I'll be there. They're all recorded. You can listen to it later. And then we also got together, and with my partner in crime, Tanya Joplin from our juvenile probation department, we redid the MOU and started to move forward, because our MOU was scanned and it really looked, I'm gonna really date myself, it looked like those printers that had the little lines, the little dots on the side that you'd start printing the night before. Y'all remember. And it would come on this big pile the next day because it took all night to print. And then you'd tear it off the next day and you'd grab it, and I'll be back in about 3 hours when I finally read this whole thing. And that's how long, and that's what it looked like. It looked like it was printed on one of those. So it definitely needed to be updated. So Tanya was really sweet and redid it all, and we were ready to go and meet face to face with each one of the leaders, get them their buy-in to CRCG, and COVID. Now what? We can't go talk to anybody. We were excited about going and meeting all of those leaders and really talking about CRCG, because it had gotten to the point where it was like an annoying meeting people had to go to. And we wanted to explain this is much more. And at the same time, state CRCG was coming about and providing all these wonderful tools and things, and we're like, we've got it. But COVID. So luckily I worked at the foundation, and we're like, DocuSign. And so we had to do everything online, and we got it all done through DocuSign. So collaborating. It's a lot like breakfast. So with breakfast, the chicken will bring the eggs. She makes them every day. That's really sweet. She's going to bring some eggs. The orange tree is going to provide the orange juice. We've got coffee beans. The cow's going to bring some milk. And the wheat is going to bring the toast or the bread, whatever we need. But the bacon. We're talking about a pound of flesh to bring the bacon. Now, if you're talking Mexican breakfast, then that cow's got some worries too, right? Because we're talking barbacoa, or cejos, which is the brain. We're going to get a little too much into that, so I won't go there. But sometimes you can't ask for too much. But those really great partners are going to bring the bacon. They're going to be there for you and really understand. But you still need the eggs and the milk and everything. So I look at CRCG like a cult. Once you're in there, I'm not letting you out. People, a lot of commitment, lifetime commitment. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I need all your time. You've got a job. I get that. That's why we ask people to stay in it, so we can keep sharing the joy. And I'm going to tell you how we did that. So this is one way we did it, is there's a great tool, and this is all too small, don't even try to read it. There's a great tool on the CRCG website that talks about the different jobs and things that you can divide up if you want. So we took that, me and Tanya took that, and we made it work for us. And you'll notice that over on the right, there's, you can see ACOG, Bexar County Juvenile Probation Department, because we didn't put anybody's name on it. We put the organization that's going to be responsible for that piece. And they rotate. And we warned them, it's going to rotate. And you're going to end up, your organization's going to end up with a different job. So if you win the lotto and you're off on your world tour, or you get a great job, or you retire, or whatever, the organization is responsible for bringing somebody else to take over that. Because we're all in this together. The orange juice still has to show up. The bacon still has to show up, the whole thing. So we just rotate them and not let anybody off the hook. Oh, I can't do anymore. I've got too many. No, send me somebody. And when people sign up, they're like, oh, we've got 7 people. Can we rotate? Sure. The more the merrier, because that way if you run off and get a another job or something, we still have somebody that can do that. So we went ahead and developed this. So right now, let's connect with one another. And those little notes that you just took with your spiral journal, I want you to talk to somebody next to you, no more than 3 people, 2 to 3 people, and I want you to discuss the I am and I need to. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to turn around and just say, what was it that, if it's like, I am so angry right now. You don't need to talk about that unless you really want to. We've got, therapists and counselors in the room. But just talk to each other for a minute. So I'm going to give you a minute to do that. Just roll over. Okay, I'm going to give you about 30 more seconds. He's trying to get away. Okay, 10 more seconds, so if you'll finish up that thought. Don't worry, we're going to be moving forward, so you'll have another chance. Okay, if you'll finish up that thought, that went really, really fast. And 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. Very good. That comes from my early childhood training. It still works. Yeah, y'all all went to daycare. Those things are ingrained in the brain. Okay, let's go ahead and just move forward. So when developing system change, I found a lot of different resources because change is very difficult whenever, well, we never and we always, I didn't say it like that. I said it very nicely. But you'll notice that on the left are the values of system of care. On the right, it talks about change. And when you're developing something like a system of care, it's not that, well, can you have it done in 6 months? No. A year? No. It's a philosophy. And that's why we lost our grant the last time, is we didn't create a philosophy. We were trying to create a program. And people are very comfortable with something tangible, something that they can do check marks on. But when it comes to a way of thinking, that can make people very uncomfortable. And you have to sit in that discomfort till it finally clicks. It must have taken me 2 years till I figured out what in the world was happening at CRCG. And another 2 years to read so much about system of care that I was able to understand that as well. So when I originally created this slide, it was for a large meeting that we had, and my boss was sitting in it, and it says 3 to 6 years. And I made sure I put that in bold so that she'd know, because she was new. We had a new boss at the foundation, that it was going to take us at least that long. So we started small, but we were thinking big. And this is our task force that we started with. Oops, wrong way. It's like, where are my notes? So we were asking ourselves things like, how can we meet and collaborate where the work is already taking place? Because nobody wanted another meeting. It's like, please don't. So where are meetings happening where a lot of different groups, CRCG, we have trauma-informed care, We have our Bexar County Behavioral Health that get together periodically, and it's usually the same suspects. You see the same people for a different reason, so it's good. It's like, hey, can I have 10 minutes? We have one initiative run by the United Way that's our Ready Children Impact Council, yes. And that one, a lot of early childhood people come together. So, of course, I've got to be in on that one because that's my passion there is with the little people. And so it's like, can I have 10 minutes? Can I have 10 minutes in your meeting? And most of the time people will tell you, yeah, sure, not a problem. And so where is the work already happening so that we can talk about these things and we can move it forward? So what we decided to do, oh, that's our task force. And Kronkosky is still on there. Let me tell you my story about Kronkosky. So I'm doing all this work. I'm making it happen. I was asked to present at NTAC. I'm here presenting here. I'm all over the place in Bexar County. Everybody's happy. I go to a meeting. I'm giving an update there. I get back to the office and the new boss says, we've decided not to do initiatives anymore. We've done away with your position. You no longer have a job. That's what I said. If you didn't see her, she had a great big old pout. It's like, yep, that's what I said. But I immediately went into, we've done too much work. This needs to continue. So I started to negotiate. And it's like, can I take my project with me? Yes. Can I have my contact list? People are usually pretty protective of anything that's on the computer. I'm like, I get it, it's okay. And just started talking, about stuff. Enough to where now Kronkosky, and it was more my boss than me, saying, you know what, let's try to bring you in as a contractor. So you can continue the work, we can continue to support it, but it's not in the office. It needs to be out in the community. And she was exactly right. And that's one reason why we wanted to do it without a grant, because community needed to own it. And coming from a foundation that's been around for a really long time, coming from a foundation and seeing organizations that constantly come back for funding, and every year they got funded, and all of a sudden they don't get funded one year for whatever reason, and now they're in giant trouble because they got used to that. If you start getting a check every month for $100 from an anonymous donor, after about 10, 12 months, you're like, woo, my check should be coming in, and then it stops. And what happened? So we needed to make sure that community understood this is yours, and how are we going to keep it going? So boy, that next day, first I went home and I pouted and I cried and I did all of the things that you're supposed to do when you're mourning, because I always told them, you're never going to get rid of me. You're going to have to throw me out the 8th floor window, because we're on the 8th floor, because I'm not going anywhere. And I still had that mentality. So I call myself a tick now, because I'm like stuck to them, going, no, I'm not going anywhere. Maybe you don't pay me anymore, but you're still going to help. And they're really great, and they are helping. So thinking of those things. So then the next day on my computer, hey guys, just want to update you. Anybody whose contact I had, please send this forward. Here's my new, and those are my cards if you want to grab one. The only thing that has changed is I don't have a job. Everything else is still moving forward, because the meetings were in places that were within the organizations. And I used to bring the tacos and stuff. And so I'm like, hey, anybody, got taco money, or you know what, bring your own. Whatever we need to do, but we need to continue to have these conversations. So I may not work for them, but I'm not letting them go anyway. So we decided to start building trust. And that was going to have to happen face-to-face with individuals. So I went to my early childhood field brain and said, we're going to make paper chains, just like we did in kindergarten. And what we did is we got together, and I organized it because I needed to organize it some way, is age groups. So I had an early childhood meeting, elementary school meeting, junior high, high school, young adults. And so we had different ways for people to participate. And they could come to all of them, or they could come to the one that they thought about. We had scenarios, and the scenarios were written by people working with those age groups. And what did they see in the behavioral health that was needed that they run into a lot? And so each table had a scenario. We had about 5 or 6 people at each table, and they had their papers, and they had notes and things that they could take. And so within that scenario, they had to discuss, who do you know that could help you with this family? You have to know them. And for that, they got a green strip. And they wrote the person's name and maybe the organization, some notes on that green strip. And if they didn't know anybody, but they knew there was an organization, nobody at that table knew anyone, then they got a yellow. The organization exists, I just don't know anybody who works there. And our table doesn't know anybody who works there. They got red when we didn't even have the service in Bexar County, such as youth inpatient, Tanya's right now saying it for me because I forget all the time, treatment for substance use disorder. So we don't have that. Very happy to say we do have a recovery high school, thank you Tanya Joplin, in Bexar County, and that's been around a couple of years now. So kids don't have to go back to the regular high school if they're in recovery. They go to our recovery high school. And I know y'all have one here in Austin. I just can't remember the name. Tanya right now is putting it in the chat. So we did the green, the yellow, and the red. And then we had our meetings. We'd report out at the end. So then other tables would say, oh, I know somebody to turn your yellow into a green. So these chains, and you'll see like the lady down here on the bottom left, didn't look like chains. Some of them look like balls of paper, because what started off as a yellow turned to a green. There may have been a red on there, because families aren't linear. It's very spherical. This whole work is very spherical. It is not linear work. So everybody, just kind of would throw out, oh, you can turn, I know somebody there. And so then they turn that yellow into a green. What people did ask for is more, please, because it was very intentional networking. The things that happen in the parking lot when you're running out going, wait, I need your card. I need to connect with you. Oh my God, I didn't know you worked there. I didn't know y'all were doing that. That happens in the parking lot a lot. So we did it on purpose and found those people in those different things. So altogether, we had about 150 participants, more than 5, but at least 5 came to each and every one of those sessions and learned something new each and every time. So they did ask for city and state representatives. We're still trying to organize that. They wanted more of it. We made 60 plus connections. I think now it's over 70 on collaborations started out of these. An MOU started out of it for the school, working with the school. Funding partnerships are Celebrate Dyslexia and Juvenile Probation are now going to be testing the kids associated with juvenile probation, because the majority, according to statistics, are dyslexic. So because they can't understand what's going on in the classroom, I'm dyslexic. And they have services back, they were just like, Alice, study harder. Nope, it's not gonna work. My brain doesn't work that way. So working on that and making some system change there. Funding partnerships, there's a grant for that now. Support for families. So we'd get these really tough cases, and it's like it was like a CRCG emergency case, and we'd just throw it out to the universe, and everybody's like, nope, we got that. And so we'd get that solved, and new CRCG participants. What came of the conversations that we picked up and we moved forward were more information on runaways, because people were still under the impression you couldn't help a runaway. That if you helped them, you were like adding to the crime or whatever it was, and that's not true. Teen parent rights, the teen can sign anything for their child, but they can't sign for anything for themselves. So what are we going to do about that? Qualification for grandparent services. So if you've got a 16-year-old mom or dad, chances are you've got a 30 to 40-year-old grandparent who doesn't qualify, because some of the grandparent services say you have to be 55. Well, get with it. There are young grandparents out there. Substance use disorder, inpatient youth treatment. Tanya's going, yay. And transportation, of course. And so a lot of conversation, but we wanted to take those things that we were hearing at each and every one of these sessions and move it forward into our system of care. So this is our little elevator speech that we came up with. I'm not going to bother reading that to y'all, just that and we'll go over this in a minute, harmonizing more than buy-in. So when you start from the top, you have to get people to buy in. oh, you've got to join, and oh, we're so wonderful, and you're out there just selling it, selling it, selling it. But if you're working with boots on the ground, you're harmonizing. We could do it here in the room, just coming together with those conversations that we had a little while ago. It's like, what are we all looking at? What do we all need? And what can we all take back out? I always find it easier to work with boots on the ground because then the lawyers don't get involved. Once you get lawyers involved, it's too hard. So we came up with our little elevator speech, and it changes periodically. We just change it. And so now let's look at things from a different perspective. So now I want you to go back to your original group and then find a group near you. And so 2 groups are going to join, your original one and whoever else was around you talking, and y'all can all get together. And I want you to discuss, in my work, I am looking forward to. So you can take what you were talking about earlier, or you could start a new discussion. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do that. Pair up again with the people you were talking to before, and then find another group to join. So it could be this whole side and this whole side, if y'all want to come this way, or however you want to do it. There's no wrong way. If you end up with the same people, that's fine as well. So in my work, I am looking forward to, and I'm going to give y'all about a minute. I think I'll ask for questions after we come back together. This kind of wakes everybody up. Okay, I'm going to give you about 1 more minute. Okay, we've got about 10 seconds to finish up that conversation. And 1, 2, 3. Eyes on me. Oh, y'all are good. So we can all come back together. So we started, as I said, building trust with individuals in a very purposeful way. If I hadn't done little activities like that, you probably wouldn't have turned around and talked to your neighbor. So it has to have some purpose. And then we took those and we started connecting in new ways. So let's talk about that. I just love that picture. I thought it was adorable. So we started talking about in those asset mapping sessions, because the humans, I don't remember if I said this, the human is the most important asset in any organization. Private, not for profit, all of that. Your humans are always your number 1 investment. So we had to figure out, who do I know? So those greens, and now we use that as our language. That's a green, that's a yellow, that's a red. So now we've got a language that we're building as well. Who do I need to meet, and who do I need to find? And this is now our 2023 logo. And everybody participated in creating this at one of our big meetings. I'll tell you how in just a minute. Because now, every time they look at the logo, they see themselves in the work. They see their friend in the work. And it looks like a 3-year-old did it, but we were only a year old, so I say we're really quite advanced. So, in our big meeting, after all of those asset mapping sessions, we all got together. And we were 1 year old, and when we first started, our very first task force meeting was on May the 4th. Woohoo! May the 4th be with you, yeah. I'm not a great big Star Wars fan. I kind of like Star Trek better, but it worked for us. And we're also trying to build our system of care so that it benefits our foster children. So if you can make it work there, you can make it work anywhere. So the little Go-Gru, or who I call Baby Yoda, the Go-Gru is actually a foster baby. He had to leave his whole planet. And the Mandalorian is his foster daddy. So they are a foster family. So we had cookies, and we all got together, and you can see down here on the bottom right, I gave them each cups of paint. We had primarily green. There was like 70 cups of green paint, maybe 10 to 15 of yellow paint, and maybe 5 or 6 of the red paint, because those are what we had in our chains. We were very happy, and I knew it was going to happen, to find out we have a lot of assets. We just haven't connected them yet, like those chains. And so I gave purposeful questions. Go find somebody that. Go find somebody else that. Trade your little popsicle stick, stir it around, and see what color you end up with. And when you see our logo in person, it's got little streaks of yellow in it. You really can't see here. The red represents there's still a lot of stuff we don't know. We don't know a lot. And if you look, there's little black lines. Those are the systemic problems that we have that are written in, and you have to work around. It's like those, how come we can't solve that? It's in our system, and it comes from way, way, way back when. In San Antonio, redlining. So I'm pretty sure Austin has redlining also that happened way back when, but it's still there. You look at our heat maps, you swear you're looking at the redlining, because they're all the same. Starting to get better, but our system of care wants to help with that. So we created that. We had a great meeting. We ate together. Have food, they will come. Break bread together. It just brings people together when you have that meal. And so this is another one of the tools I use. And things move up and down through these tools. It's not a check the box. So we're harmonizing versus buy-in. We're doing a mirror versus a target, because we're not aiming for anything. We're letting it evolve. Even better than a mirror, a window, because the window is that lived experience. I come from early childhood. I was the director. I moved up to become the director. I was an advocate, just all kinds of stuff. I'm the one that hired the teachers. I'm the one that, helped put the classrooms together. Then I had my baby, and I brought my baby to the teacher that I hired, and everything looked different. Everything was different. So I can't see things from somebody else's point of view. They have to tell me what it looks like. So we really need that lived experience. We really need that window even more than a mirror. The mirror is going to help me work on me, because if you don't work on this, nothing's going to change. And then the mirror to help you see out. A compass versus a ruler, a flashlight versus a hammer. So bringing people together. So now, by the time I did this slide, we have 70 connections, purposeful networking, and we are a leader. And so the challenges is the system of care is an abstract thought. So it takes time, really takes time for people to wrap their brain around it, especially those that like things to be very, very concrete. You kind of got to go, it's okay, I got you, you're going to be safe. And to give people a safe place, you want to go looking for trouble. It's like, tell me what you don't like. Tell me what you don't like. I want to hear what you don't like. Go looking for some trouble so that you can see that. Because I only see what I like. I invent these things, and then I take them to the meeting, and people will be like, what if? And I'm like, oh, man, I thought I was a genius. That's a better idea. I'm like, I was so proud of myself last night. So this is the meat and potatoes of it all. I see, this is what I started to see when I first started to work on it, was a spider web. Each of those wedges are a different industry, and those are going to change. This is just something that I threw together. It's not where we are right now. So you look at those different industries because you also want to find the spark for those kids. So that's why I have art and sports and outdoors, and there's probably going to be more things on there. Recreation, computers are going to be up there somewhere, I don't know. Because you've got to give somebody hope and something fun to do. They tell you that even in your job. It's like, find one thing a day to do that's fun. So each of those industries, within each of those industries, the red dots are collaborations. There's usually one place that everybody connects to, like education, the service centers. Parks and Rec, the city has kind of stuff that they all go to. The arts, I know there's some place that they all go to. I just haven't figured out what it is, but I'm going to find it. So there's some place that everybody tends within that industry to plug into. That's where our system of care is going to go. Can I have 10 minutes? I need 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Or what meeting can I steal from you so that we can move this forward? And then within those collaborations, how are they using lived experience? Are they using lived experience? Within that, and please, I forgot to tell you, if you got a question, just raise your hand. I'm just here talking and talking and talking. But you'll have my email as well. So within that, where's the lived experience? How are you using it? Are you, what are you doing so that we can grab some of those natural leaders within the community, bring them forward into that heart in the center? Because it is those with lived experience that will run this. I am a tick to Kronkosky, and they can't get rid of me, but I am going to have to back up eventually and give this completely to community and just be there to support. So what we'll do, and I'm sorry, the 1 through 9 are different ways that they do the work. So in-home, self-advocacy, trauma-informed care, policy work. Not everybody does policy, but where is the policy work happening that we can go, yeah, that's something we want to be a part of, and help that policy work, give them the data and all those kinds of things. So there's still a lot to figure out. But what I'm looking at are those stars with the lived experience, bringing that information to the center, to the heart, because they're going to be our leaders. And then imagine that heart taking a beat. And now it goes back out. That information goes to everybody. So where mental health, it may be our Bexar County behavioral health that gets everybody together. Somebody's doing something very unique, very exciting. They bring that information, the lived experience, bring it to the heart, share that with everybody. The heart takes a beat, and now it goes out to the entire spiderweb. So if anybody else wants to get in on that, or if we need more support for it, we've got it. So connecting with community. We've talked about I am, I need, and I'm looking forward to. In my work, I am focused on. So with everything that you've been getting from this conference, is there anything that you're like, whoa, I need to go back and do that? Anybody? I know your brains are fried. Can you think of something that you're really, really, everybody's like, don't make me think. Come on, Alice. Your hoarding thing? Oh, 40 things. Also hoarding ideas and thoughts. Yeah, it's just a lot right now. And probably maybe by Monday you'll be able to start. Was there anything that you discussed that somebody brought up that you're like, yeah, me too? I'm making y'all really use your brains. I'm sorry. But, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and using those tools from CRCG, like I said, it will naturally evolve, especially if you leave it to community. And I'm number one at being a control freak. I love to control things. But yeah, yes, please. Is it on? Can we hear?
Now, okay. I know you work with Bexar County and the focus of that San Antonio. how would you translate system of care to a smaller rural county where you've got communities in there that are so different?
Yeah.
And if you're trying to organize a system of care countywide, and it's almost like having 4 or 5 unique.
It's like
Any ideas on?
It's like raising a family. You've got 5 kids. You've got 5 different people. If you've got more than one child living in your home, even one child, you wake up one day and it's like, what is that? But I would imagine it's very much like that. So that trust has to be at the base of everything. So, and we talked about it during our leadership meeting, is sometimes it works really well virtually because of the space. But is there one time maybe that everybody can make that trip and come together and meet each other to build that trust even stronger? Because you're going to build it because y'all function that way within the rule. It's like, how are we already functioning and how can we make that stronger? And every single system of care is like every single CRCG. They're different. Every family is different, every individual. So look at it like humans. You know, this is a group that is one kind of human in that county. And how can we bring them together?
Do you know of a rural county in Texas that's doing system of care that's got it going?
I don't.
What county?
All right.
Parker County? Okay.
Yeah, like our cities are like 30 minutes apart from each other, and so it is hard to bring everybody together, so we mostly meet virtual. And kind of much like you were saying, like we have Garner, which is, they don't even go all the way through K through 12. It's like K through 9th grade, but then we have Weatherford ISD, who's a 6A school. So they have very different, it's very different. And, Alice is right. We just treat them as their own person almost, and you're trying to just still figure out ways to connect them and bring them together and let them know, even though y'all are very different, you have different services, like we all have the same end goal of providing services to the students. So
yeah, and you want to celebrate the things that each and every one of them, the same we do with our kids, celebrate what's going well in that, because then people will go, oh wait, I can do that, I just need to tweak it to work for me. And then so I suggest you get her email and don't let her be a tick. Don't let her out of your sight. So what we're doing next, we did those asset mapping. We brought people together. We were building trust. We were having conversations. We were making strong connections that were raising capacity, multiplying investments, and coming from a foundation. They want to see how you're using that investment and how you made it bigger. And we've all got to show that kind of stuff. Is that now we're connecting in different ways. Now we're bringing the groups together, the different collaborations together. So we started with one meeting and we had panel, and then the panel would go off and spend most of the time at the tables, and we played musical chairs, and I always bring early childhood into it. So play games, get a piñata, do whatever you got to do. Networks, hubs, and platforms, and those are the electronic referrals that you do, and maybe you have a community one, or maybe you have one within your organization. And how do you use those? And sometimes people are like, I don't know that other one. Well, let's learn about it so that you can have another tool, because you don't want to have a Rolls Royce parked in the parking lot and not know how to drive. And then we had city and state, local collaborations. We're doing one on insurance because a lot of the organizations don't code. And that's all I know about that. I know there's a word called coding and you get paid. And so they're leaving money on the table because nobody knows how to code. It's like, how can we teach our organizations how to code? How can we all get together maybe and invest in one person that can code for all of us, because we're tiny? Get creative as much as you can. And then we're going to have another full day event, and we've got to figure out how to get our city and state, because they work for us, and they need to know what we're looking at, because this has great power. Your CRCG has great power, and the system of care has great power. And they can work separate or they can work together. Ours just kind of grew out. So this is NTAC and all of the wonderful things that they provide. So I went over the history, our current state. Alice still doesn't have a job. Don't worry, I'm okay. And impact and progress, our future. We're building connections and trust between people, builds capacity between organizations. Because now I know you chances are I'm going to call you. And when things go wrong, you can call me and go, hey, Alice. I always tell people I have an alter ego called Licha. In Spanish, the nickname for Alice is Licha. And she sits here on the left shoulder. And she's gotten me into a lot of trouble. But when they were telling me I no longer had a job, I went around and said, shut up. And so, shut up, I got this. And so I imagine over here, because I'm Alice, is the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland. And that dang cat only talks in riddles, but it does help me. So I've got, the counselors in the room are going, girl, you need services. It's okay, I'm surviving. So align values to align goals. So if I know you, and we do that with people. It's like, oh, you're so much like me. Oh, and then we can move together. So we need to find those similarities between our programs. Align goals to create a shared vision. That's that system of care. Now let's all start that heart in the middle. That's why you bring all the information together and you take that beat. It's like, where is it that we're all looking at this very similarly, just in different ways, and how to do the work. And then a shared vision to create system change at many levels. I told you, if you don't work on this, life is hard. It's hard to work on the person in the mirror. Licha starts talking, and I'm like, shut up. And sometimes I just let her go, just to have fun. Departmental changes, so just within your, 5 minutes, just within your little group, organizational culture, policy, procedures, and industry. Sometimes we're doing things because we've always done it. Oh, I worked for the state child care licensing. Why do we do that? We've always done it that way. Yes, but why? We've always done it that way. Why? And then Licha came out and I had to leave because they were going to ask me to go anyway. So I mean, woo, I'm out of here. See y'all later. Y'all have all done it. You know it. We've all done it. And then state and local policy. Those darn black lines that are embedded in there, that we know it's there. And we've got to figure out a way to go, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to start working together and then bring it all together. So very quickly, I probably have like 1 minute. Any major burning questions? Anything online? Yes, ma'am. Oh, we've got a, there we go.
Is it on?
Yes.
Okay. I have a two-part question.
Okay.
So my first question is that do you do consultation for like new SOCs or like just SOCs that are already in creation?
Yes, you can hire me as a consultant.
All right. That's what I was wondering.
My cards are right here. In fact, let me give you one.
Whatever. And then
I'm not cheap. Can I do? We can talk. We can talk.
And my second part of the question is that for like the tougher agencies that really need to be at the table, like CPS, how do you get those involved in like how, because I feel like in our community, there's just, I think it's because there's a lot of turnover, it's hard to get people involved and make sure that that agency stays consistent. And so, and they're not the only one, but just curious, how do you engage them and keep them engaged?
I would say starting with that asset mapping where you're just getting together and having intentional, and you always got to, hey, hi, you're from CPS. What can we do for you? How can we help you? And people go, ooh, you want to help me? And then they show up because it's like, what have you done for me lately? And so, and they'll show up and you make a friend. And once you make a friend, you find out if that's a friend for you. And tell them to bring a friend. And then maybe you get a few of them, and somebody in there eventually is going to go, yeah, I get it. And they're going to stick with you. And even if they move on, they have the how do you say, the education or the awareness of what's happening at CPS and what's happening in those departments. And then hopefully they can move you forward. And then you make friends with the department because they have to be part of system of care. How can they not? What do you mean? Oh my God, you're CPS. And so, yeah, you do a little guilt or whatever you need to do. Yeah. Whatever you need to do. Bring food. Bring food, they will show up. These are social workers, you know. Yeah. There you go. We show up for the food. We need food.
So in part of what you were talking about, into my brain popped the Chamber of Commerce, especially for smaller communities.
Ooh, yes.
And what does that look like, trying to be a part of their meeting to kind of bring them to, like, this is our need, this is what is needed in our community, and bringing that.
What I found is there's a lot of for-profit organizations that want to give back. They just don't know how. So that may be a way to go in and go, hey, can I just find out if any of your members would like to start showing up? It's not a place to go looking for business. We're talking social work and all of those kinds of things. There's no money here. But to have a conversation about how can our for-profit, and we do have some for-profit people joining our system of care, because they're like, I need to give back. I just don't know how to do it. I'm like, oh, don't worry. We're going to find you a space. Yeah, they don't need to come to the staffing, but they can come to maybe a different meeting that you know is system of care, but you're going to call it CRCG point 2. So how can people help? Well, I thank you for joining. Please pick up my card, email me. I am for hire, looking for a job, and all that. Thank you, appreciate you, and I hope you have a great trip home. Oh yeah, don't forget to do the
Yes.
yes.
Thank you so much, Alice.
Thank you. It was
for
fun.
your compassion, your energy, and your dedication. It was a lot. It was great information. Also, just a reminder, like she said, please scan the QR
evaluation.
codes. They're everywhere. We not only just want the evaluation, but we want your feedback and your input so that we can continue to grow the program. Do you have a question?
Oh,
Okay. On the PowerPoint, at the very beginning of the PowerPoint, which will be available in the links that you're going to post, they can go on the PowerPoint, and her information is on the very first page of her PowerPoint, including her email.
and CRCG and System of Care office knows how to find me.
Yes. Also, we're going to take a quick break. Our last keynote is in big text, starting at 10:15. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you, guys.
Make sure you sign in. You have to do your evaluations to get your CEUs.